Hello, and welcome to Let's Make a Top-Down Shooter. This video is about building a mission tracker that can let the player know how far along a mission completion they are and provide a way to transition after mission completion. Alright, the first thing we're going to do is go back into our plugins and just ensure that our game feature pawn manager is enabled. It was initially enabled when you relaunch the engine, the editor. Sometimes it's no longer enabled that first time. Then we're going to create a widget. This will be WBP Mission Tracker. So in here, we're going to have a vertical box. Inside that will be some text and a size box. Inside the size box, we're going to have a button. And on that, some more text. So this is our objective text, which will be a variable. This is going to be centered. Size box will be left at auto and set to filled. This will be our leave button. And this can just say leave mission. The button needs an on-click event, which, like before, we will get our game mode. Check does implement interface. Or BPI mission. Add a branch. And use that to load level. Being that our mission tracker is on missions, all this is going to do is reload our third person map. We're also going to add a function. We'll call this update objective. This will take two parameters. The first is complete. Second is the text. This will be a text type. We're just going to have a sequence. Throw out a branch for whether it's complete or not. If it is complete, we are going to take our leave button and set its visibility to visible. Which of course means back here in our leave button, we want the initial visibility to be hidden. And then we're going to take our objective text, call set text on that. And that will be the text we sent it. We need to add that to our HUD. So as usual, we'll go down to our user created section, drag in our mission tracker. In this case, we're going to anchor this, hold down Control and Shift to the top center. Going to make this 400 by 80. And our third person character, under our init UI, we're going to take out our HUD, get the WBP Mission Tracker. We can save that as a variable as usual. And since we only want that tracker visible on missions with tracking, I'm just going to call set visibility here and set it to hidden. Actually, without that initially, once you play, you can see that's got text block up there, which is also a reminder. Not that it really matters here because it'll be overridden the first time it's visible. But we'll just show that as initially objective text. So for this, we're going to create a new level, make a basic level. We'll save it in our maps folder. We'll call this SomeMap, which you remember is in our mission data table. And in here, we need to make sure very large area has a, well, we don't need this strictly. A player start will just go, oh, actually, I guess there is one. It's an initial start area. Throw that down in a corner. I'm going to create two things. First of all, we have our nav mesh volume, or bounds volume. I hit space, I can go to the resize. Kind of hard. Oh, that is way up there. All right. I guess I can just do this. Set its height at 0. This thing is at about 0. Unfortunately, the scaling on this, which just says 8, is very different than the scaling on this. Looks to be about right. Actually, we can just copy that. Set that as 46, 46. All right, that works. We hit P, then it'll show us the navigable area. Also need to add a plane for our hit test. All right, for that we want visible or invisible. And the collision on this needs to be set. So we will set this to custom. We only need it to be, where is it? Query only. Everything can be set to ignore except the visibility. And that'll be used for our mouse hit test to turn the character. Which also means that should be a little bigger than the area. Of course, now that it's not visible, it's hard to see. Should work. We just hit play now. That looks fine. The character's turning fine. Even yeah, so you can see the plane is ending over here. So we'll want that plane to be just a little bigger. Let's throw it up at 120. Sufficiently large. Even at the edge, it's doing that. All right, then we can throw in our usual. We have some throw in a few ammo generators. If you hold Alt and drag, you can just make copies. Set 3. Want to throw in my assault rifle. And shotgun. We're going to just create a actor here. Going to be an actor type. It's just a BP enemy spawn. Zoom out a bit. We'll just throw in a few of these. Pop that up 90 above the floor because it's going to be the center of where our enemies spawn. We'll just throw in 4 of those. As you can see, they're not visible because they have no mesh, which is how we want it. So the purpose of that is just to have locations where we can spawn enemies, because in this video, we will be doing that through the mission tracker. So we're going to create that next. So we're creating a actor named Mission Tracker. This will also be invisible. It just needs to be in the level so that it gets a begin play and it's created by the engine. So in here, we're first going to create a variable called enemies. This will be of type enemy character. And it will be an array. So in begin play, we're just going to call spawn enemies. We also want to use our pawn manager. So to do that, we call get player pawn. First entry will be a local player. We'll cast this to our BP third person character. We use that for our utility find pawn manager component. And with that, we will call register and call for init state change. We want this on our gameplay ready. And typically when you have the little box here, you can drag it out and you do add custom event. In this case, we are calling create event. And this is how we do it with a function. So there's no current function. We can create a matching event or function. I want to use a function here. And if you remember that the GameReady information included a parameter, so this was an easy way to get that added. Otherwise, you would have to create it manually. It would be an actor in its state changed params type, which looks like that. We're not using it, however. And I did want to call this onReady, which will also update right here. So the idea is that in spawn enemies, we will spawn the enemies. Hence the name. Set it up so that when an enemy dies, it lets this actor know. So for that, we need another function. We'll call this onEnemyDied. This will accept one parameter, the enemy, which of course is type BP enemy character. And all this is going to do is remove that enemy from our array. And call update widget. And how do we get this to happen when an enemy dies? We go into our enemy blueprint. When our enemy health change is 0, and we're calling it we're setting it as dead here, so that's a good place. We want to create an event dispatcher. So for this, we'll call it enemy died. This will have a parameter. Call this enemy. This will be self, so that is BP enemy character. And to do that, we do call enemy died. We're sending along self. With those set up, now we can fill out our spawn enemies function. First thing we're doing is get all actors of class. We want our newly created enemy spawn. So again, we're just using that in a loop so that we can get the actor transform. Call spawn actor. This will be of type BP enemy character. That is the transform. Then for each of those characters, we want to bind event to enemy died. And similarly here, we can drag that out and call create event. In this case, we already have the function set up. And lastly, we're adding this to our enemies array. Now in our pawn ready function, this is called when our player character, third person character is ready, so we know that the widget is set up. So we can again call get player pawn. Cast that to our VP third person character so that we can get the WBP mission tracker. Promote that to a variable. Set that visibility to visible in this case. Oops. So it was initially set hidden in our player character, and then on missions where this exists, actually don't need that return node, it's implied. It will make it visible. And lastly, we want to update the widget. Now the update widget function, which is a little bigger. The point of this function is to take the information, send along the is complete and objective text. So first we're going to control drag this out, right click it and convert to validated get. When that is valid, we are taking our enemies, getting the length. We'll just save this as a local variable. Call it enemy count. Throw in a sequence. The first bit of the sequence will be figuring out that information. The second will be calling update objective. So for that, I'll do that first. Control drag that out, call update objective. It's going to be sending this, which we can set as a local variable. We'll call it is complete. Same with the text. Call that objective text. So up here, I'm going to drag out the enemy count. I just want to compare it. If it's currently larger than 3, we're just going to set our objective text as defeat all enemies. Otherwise, if there are enemies left, so if it's greater than 0, ooh, not there. Want that from the false. If it's greater than 0, again, we will set the objective text. This time, I just realized I messed up. The objective text is actually supposed to be a string entry. I'm going to complain. Okay. Redo that. Now you can see the objective text string into text. That should not work. If I alt click and redrag it in, then it'll give us the convert function. So the reason I'm doing this is because for a string, we can call append. Because in here we want defeat, space, oops, hit tab, space, enemies, and then we're just going to do that, convert it to a string. And in the case, if we get here, that does two things. First of all, is complete is then set. And our objective text can be set to mission complete. All right, let's make sure everything is working. All right, so I can test it on here directly. Pick up that weapon. It says defeat all enemies. Once one is gone, it says defeat 3 enemies. Oops, need to hit reload. Down to defeat 1 enemy. There we go, mission complete, and leave mission. So we click that, takes us back to a third-person map. So in third-person map, if we open this UI, we'll click on one of these, click load, and there we go, it's back in our SomeMap. We now have a repeatable mission. So when I hit play here, we were loaded on this map, that's why I went to this map. If you want to do the flow properly, you would want to start from third-person map, and then hit it here, hit that. Either one, they both go currently to SomeMap, so they're both fine. And same thing. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video and would like to see more, you know what to do. And if you'd like to support this channel or just want to download the project files, you can do so through my Patreon linked below.